Alright guys, it's just another video here. Last video I was talking about some things to do with video, Minuteman Video 13, Lucky 13, right? Yeah, that's the one where the tripod fell, and I rewatched it. I took notes. You saw me with this notepad. So I wanted to try to cover my bases, and I'm sorry if it doesn't look as great when I do that, but I wanted that information to get out there to you. And anyway, that last video was pretty much about that, and it was also about the mind being this right here, this brain. Right, the brain. This is what makes a good soldier. This is what makes the tactician. Okay, you want to be good at tactics. You want to be good at overcoming the odds. You have to have a lot in your toolbox. This is your toolbox, right? This is your toolbox. The paraphernalia, right? The kit, the equipment, those are the tools. The toolbox and the tools, right? So if you ain't got nothing in your toolbox up here, then your tools are worthless. You got to understand that things that you learned in school, when you went to school in the military, this is a foundation. You got to build the foundation. That doesn't mean that it stops there. How you build upon that foundation is you study that foundation, and then you study other things, like we talked about Vietnam. People become good at war by studying war. You're not going to get any better if you're not studying the enemy. You respect the enemy. What makes a good soldier is somebody who is well-rounded in warfare and understands what's going on out there. I don't claim to know everything, but I know a good deal. And some of my knowledge is obviously indicated. But the thing is I'm going to tell you one more thing. I never wanted to discuss this subject. I never wanted to bring the Minuteman to this channel. I never wanted to do that. But it becomes necessary when it becomes necessary that we have to take up the mantle, and we have to put the knowledge out there about certain subjects because of the world that we live in. You cannot shrug that off. It is your obligation to bring up stuff from the old memory banks, right? And I'll admit my memory is horrible, but sometimes I forget things in mid-sentence and everything else, but I'm doing my best here. But the thing is you know, my life has been chapters. It's a book. My life is a book. Chapter for this, chapter for this, chapter. When I close a chapter, I try not to go back to that because I lived that. Some chapters are good chapters, some chapters are bad chapters. You know, I try not to relive chapters. Sometimes things are hard to get over from certain chapters. You don't want to rehash those. But sometimes there comes a point where you gotta You got to dig back and deal with what's going on. And we have a situation in this world right now. It's not just the United States. It is not just the United States. I mean, we got things going on right now in all of the major places. The U.S., the UK, Europe, Australia. Major stuff going down. Sorry. Major stuff going down. I mean, you got these farmers still ticked off over in Europe. In Europe, I mean, they're running around with their tractors. I mean, heck, just go drive right through the building with one. You know, I mean, let's just get it over with. Let's just go to town, right? So, I mean, they're trying to forbid them from farming. They're trying to forbid people from gardening in other countries. In Canada, I believe they're trying to do that. And they've tried to suggest it in the U.S. Well, I'm here to tell you, I'm not having it. And nobody else is either. You don't come messing around with my garden, because you might become plant food. Right? So, I was talking about sewing. I got sewing to do, right? I got to make these bands up, these rubber band-like objects out of this bicycle inner tube. I made me a spectacle eyeglasses retainer a couple days ago. I was going to bring that out, I forgot. But this will become bits and pieces to adhere natural vegetation to me and to my stuff, right? And some of those I'm gonna sew them together. Maybe add a little contact cement. But I got sewing projects. I got those to do. I got this to do. So this is an old sit thing, right? Where you sit on the ground. It had black straps on it, and I cut them off. I'm gonna put, I don't know, I'll put coyote brown probably. Put coyote brown on there, and I'm gonna cut a piece of 1000 denier fabric, and I'm gonna put it on this side, on the quote-unquote back side. That's gonna be in coyote brown or khaki. And this other side will remain olive green. And so depending on spring, summer, or autumn, winter, that side will go out. I'll just reverse it, right, if I need to sit somewhere. I put these handles on, I cut the old ones off, and I sewed these on. So, yeah, they're sewed on well. This coyote brown. But this thing here, sit on it. Hey. So, this thing here, this little sit chair, this is the kind of thing popular with hikers and stuff, right? But you could use this to unclip it, lay it down, you can lay on this, give you a little bit between you and the ground if you're going to be observing for a while or what have you, right? A little bit of insulation between you and the ground. Okay, you could use this as a shooter's mat. And one thing about if you're shooting, right, you got somebody on target or something, maybe you got it, well, yeah, let's just go with on target, right? Got something on target. And when you take that shot, the end of the muzzle, the gases are going to come out, right? The gases are going to come out. So what will happen is if you don't have anything in front of your tool, right? Those gases come out and they give you a signature that blows leaf litter and other stuff, right? So somebody's observing, looking for you, and that will give you away, right? So you put something down in front of you. Some guys roll out a piece of canvas or whatever, right? Keeps everything from blowing around in the front. You could use it for that. Information purposes only, right? So anyway, fixing this up. That way you're out there laying on the ground, whatever, you got something. Talk a little bit about your bush hat. This bush hat here has a fairly wide brim. I like the looks of it, and it fits me well. But the thing about a bush hat is there's a few things about the bush hat, right? One is that you don't want the brim too wide in some respects, right? So say you're on a patrol, you don't want this gigantic brim. You don't want that. You know, automatic. The eye is trained to see a bush hat, right? It's something, even in the civilian world, people will see that. They'll say, "Oh, that's a hat," right? So the one thing is if you're on patrol, you don't want the brim too wide because you want to have a good vision, a good view, right? Because most of the time you want to be using your eyes to look around and not a whole lot of head movement, okay? Because movement draws the eye. It's movement that gives you away first. That's the first thing that will give you away. Everybody's obsessed with their camouflage, but movement is the first thing that will give you away. Movement and silhouette, we know all those terms, right? You got an acronym for everything. So, but movement is the first thing that will give you away. But the silhouette of that brim and stuff, that's why you want to break up with a little leafoflage type 3D camo up in here, right? Sometimes you want to do that. But sometimes you want a wider brim, right? You might have two bush hats. You might have one to wear when you're on your walk, on your patrol, and you might want to swap it out if you're laying in a prone position observing. Put the wide one on when you're observing. Keep the light out of your eyes, you know, all that sort of stuff, right? Yeah, so it just doesn't weigh nothing, just takes up a little bit of extra room, right? But you could fold that up, stick that in your cargo pocket on your trousers. If you don't have a cargo pocket, you keep it in your patrol pack, right? And we're coming up here. We got one more minute. I'm gonna tell you guys that we're gonna be setting equipment out on a table. Be setting equipment out on a table, and I will be talking about it with you. Those videos will be coming up. We talk about equipping the Minuteman, but in these videos we're equipping the mind as well as the man or the woman, right? We're equipping the mind as well as the man or the woman, because you have to have a mindset, right? You have to have a mindset. If you don't have the proper mindset, doesn't matter what you have, you're done. You don't have the proper mindset, you're done. Alright, I'm going to come back in another video. See you there.